So your life is training you, even when you don't realize it. Every conversation, every environment, every routine, every atmosphere, and some of the things and people you keep surrounding yourself with, well, they are truly preventing your evolution to a better version of yourself. In fact, to the best version of yourself. Now, you can go on listening to podcasts all about transformation, reading books about healing and growth, and even pray for change all day and night long. But I'm telling you, none of it is going to matter. Not if you keep surrounding yourself with the conversations, routines, and emotional environments that keep pulling you back to that old version of yourself that you've been trying to outgrow. Hi, I'm Richard, and welcome back to the Walk-In Transformation Podcast. This is where faith meets real life. Not the polished social media version that you're used to, but the real version that you live each and every day. Now, in today's episode, you're going to learn that healing is not shaped only by intention. It's shaped by environments, routines, emotional atmospheres, repeated exposure, familiar conversations, and most importantly, the silent patterns you keep living inside of each and every single day. Now, this episode is also going to help you understand that some environments quietly reinforce the version of yourself that you're trying to outgrow. And some familiar emotional atmospheres can feel very safe to you, even when you know that they're unhealthy. Now, here's the biggest thing that you're going to become aware of. And I want you to get this. Transformation requires awareness, not only of yourself, but of what keeps constantly shaping you. I want you to know that I remember when I was hopelessly lost in a drug addiction and alcoholism circle, and I was trying my hardest to fight my way out of something that honestly felt bigger and stronger than me. And it was only when I got to the end of my rope. You hear rock bottom? Please. Look, I was under the bottom. I was so low that I had to look up to see snake prints. And it was only when I decided that it was over and I couldn't go any further that I was able to, with the help of God, finally accept the truth that I needed treatment. So I went and I got me some treatment. I got some help. Now, from day one, I started learning the principles, using the strategies, and even helping other people begin to implement these strategies, insights, and principles into their life. Because that's me. I'm a helper. I want everybody to be okay. And that was also a part of my healing that I had to go through, to really become aware of the fact that I don't need to help everybody before I help me. Even while I was stacking up clean days, inside, I still felt like the same person. And I couldn't understand why it was that everybody else looked like they were growing and I didn't feel like I was growing. But I eventually realized why with the help of my sponsor and my mentors. Now, I had changed some behaviors, and you may be kind of familiar with this too. I had changed some behaviors, but emotionally, I was still connected to the version of me that believed addiction and alcoholism was keeping me safe. I was still connected to the version of me that created those behavior patterns to keep me safe. I had to outgrow that. And the first thing that really helped me to do that was a saying that my favorite book has. And it says that if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away, and behold, all things are become new. So you mean to tell me that I can let the old me go and I can bring in the new me and all of that old stuff can pass away? Now, for me, that wasn't just about religion. What it was all about me finally understanding that the old version of me could not keep leading my life anymore, because the only place that it would lead me was down the same streets and avenues that it led me down first, which led me to the need to change my life. And that's when it hit me, when I opened my big old eyes to that truth, that you cannot take an old way of thinking, Richard, into a new way of living. How many of you have been trying that? And it's okay if you have, because a lot of people think transformation is just about learning something new. But transformation also requires disconnecting from the things that keep you emotionally tethered to the old you. So I'm going to say that in a much simpler way for you, right? If you stay connected to the old you, those emotional connections are going to become stronger, and then they're going to continue to pull you back to the old you because it feels safe. It feels good. What you repeatedly hear, what you repeatedly tolerate, what you repeatedly rehearse emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, and what you repeatedly surround yourself with will quietly reinforce what feels normal to you. And eventually, survival mode no longer feels like survival mode. It just starts to feel like who you are, and it just starts to feel like where you live. Now, my favorite book also says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. By the renewing of your mind. In other words, and this is both scientifically and biblically proven, that if your thinking never changes, your environments will eventually convince you to stay in the emotionally connected state, or better yet, to stay in the home that you live in, that the version of yourself lives in, because it's safe. Studies have shown us, repeated studies have shown us, that the brain adapts to repeated environments. Repeated emotional exposure, repeated stress, and repeated conversations make up the rooms in that house that we become so accustomed to. And eventually what feels familiar starts feeling safe. And even though we know it's unhealthy, we embrace it because it feels safe. The hard truth is that people are not trapped because they cannot change. Most people stay trapped because eventually they just stop believing that change is possible for them. Not because they don't want to believe, but they've tried so many times, by using all of the methods that have been given to them that treat the surface like putting a, Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, that it's like, I can't try anymore because if I try again, I'm just going to fail. So I'm just going to stay with what's comfortable. That's not you, because you're still here and you're still doing the work. Even though you feel like you're not making any progress, or you're making such little progress that does it even matter? I mean, is the needle even moving? It is moving, because we cannot see internal growth. Les Brown used to say it this way: while you're in the picture, you cannot see the frame. Here's where, my friend, things get a little bit uncomfortable. Now, most people think the biggest obstacle to transformation is a lack of knowledge, and it would seem or appear that would be true. But that's not true. That's not true. Most people already know more than enough to begin to change their lives. The real question is this: what are you still protecting that is preventing you from becoming who you are trying to become? Because awareness alone does not create transformation. So many people think that just because they read a book, or they take a course, or they go to a seminar or a webinar, or they take a free challenge or even a paid challenge, that their lives are just going to magically poof, transform. It doesn't happen that way. That's why you are so not trusting of the good information that you get. It's not because of the information that you get. It's that the information is only taking you to a certain point. You need deeper information. Awareness alone does not create transformation. Now, you can recognize a pattern. You can understand a wound. You can identify a limitation and still keep returning to the same emotional, mental, and spiritual environments that keep reinforcing it. Why? Because it feels safe. It's familiar, so it feels safe. Okay? Now, human beings will often fight to protect what feels familiar. So that's why people defend limitations they secretly want to overcome. They explain them, they justify them, they build their decisions around them, and eventually the limitations stop feeling like a limitation at all. They start feeling like, once again, the comfortable, cozy home that you live in. It starts feeling like reality. And once something feels like reality, you'll fight to keep it. Not because you want to stay stuck, but because part of you still believes that you need it. And that part of you has gotten really strong from you pouring the nourishment of your thoughts over it. The truth is, if you spend enough time around fear, fear starts sounding reasonable to you. If you spend enough time around negativity, negativity starts sounding normal. If you spend enough time rehearsing limitations, eventually those limitations, they stop feeling like opinions and they start feeling like facts. And that's exactly why some people stay trapped for years, even decades. Not because they can't change, but because they keep protecting the very things that they have outgrown. Now, that's big right there. You might want to just kind of, marinate on that for a minute. Once again, real transformation begins the moment you stop asking yourself how to change and start asking, what are you still refusing to release so that you can change? In John chapter 5, verse 6, when Jesus encountered a man who had been struggling for 38 years, a long time, and this is not about religion. Don't get caught up on that. Just get caught up on the example. Once again, when Jesus encountered a man who had been struggling for 38 years, 3 decades, he didn't ask him what was wrong. He wasn't worried about what was wrong. He asked him something far more revealing. He asked him, "Do you want to be made whole?" Because sometimes the greatest challenge isn't the limitation itself. The greatest challenge is deciding you're finally ready to stop building your life around your limitations. It's deciding you're finally ready to release the things that you've been using to explain why you cannot move forward. Here's a real quiet self-inventory for you. Something short, not an assignment that you're going to have due by tomorrow. None of that nonsense. But let me just ask you 2 questions, and I don't want you to answer them quickly. I want you to sit with them for a minute like they were a rocking chair and just rock back and forth and just sit with it for a minute. Question number 1. What limiting belief am I still defending or justifying? That's going to be a serious one right there. And be honest with yourselves. Don't fake the funk. Question number 2. What mental, emotional, or physical environment is the old version of me most comfortable in? I want you to be for real with yourself because it's not about me. It's about you, dear heart. If those questions make you uncomfortable, that's okay. Just take a deep breath and exhale. They're supposed to make you uncomfortable, not because something is wrong with you, but because awareness is often the first sign that something is finally ready to change. It's the first sign usually that you are ready to let go of something. It's just kind of hard to open your hand to let it go. So don't judge yourself for what you discover. Don't rush past it. Just be honest, because honesty is what creates awareness. Awareness is what creates the opportunity for transformation. Maybe the problem is not that you are bad at change. Maybe the problem isn't that transformation is not working for you. Maybe the problem is that you have spent years trying to change yourself without realizing how much of who you became was shaped by the people around you and the environments that you learned to survive in. I mean, long before you had the ability to question your beliefs, somebody was teaching you what to believe, what to fear, what to value, what to expect, what to think was possible for your life. Long before you even understood what identity was, people like parents, teachers, and peers, and experiences like successes and failures were shaping you. They were all shaping you. Directly and indirectly, consciously and unconsciously, your environment was constantly sending messages to you about who you were, what was possible, and what you should expect from your life. You see, they all became beliefs. And then those beliefs became behaviors. And eventually, those behaviors started feeling like you. They became habits. But here is the shift. Just because you learned it, just because they turned into habits, doesn't mean it's what you are. And just because an environment helped to shape who you think you are, it doesn't mean that it gets to define who you become. You are the only one. You are the only one who can define who you become, because nobody or nothing can prevent you from becoming the best version of who you truly are other than you. So here's what I want you to do. For the next 24 hours, and this is nothing big. Again, you don't need a new book. You don't need a journal. You don't need a day away at a spa or anything. For the next 24 hours, don't try to change anything. No, seriously. Don't try to fix yourself. Don't try to force a breakthrough. Don't try to force anything, any changes. Just pay attention. Pay attention to what, Richard? Pay attention to anything that keeps requesting the old version of you. And if you're not sure what that looks like, just start with these 3 simple observations. Pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your reactions, and pay attention to the environments where the old version of you feels most comfortable. In other words, pay attention to what feels familiar. No journaling assignment, no homework, no pressure to figure everything out today. Just observe. Because my favorite book also says, be quick to hear. And science tells us that awareness is the first step toward rewiring any pattern. Okay? Now, you cannot intentionally change what you've never intentionally noticed. I know I said that kind of quickly, so I'm going to, repeat that. I'm going to rewind that. You cannot intentionally change what you have never intentionally noticed. So don't judge what you discover. Don't condemn what you discover. Just notice it. Just acknowledge it. Because clarity creates awareness. Awareness creates choice. And choice is where transformation begins, because it is truly never too late to transform your life on purpose. There you are. Today you've discovered something really important. You have become aware that your environment is shaping you, even though you're unaware that your environment is shaping you. Your thoughts are shaping you. Your reactions are shaping you. Some of the patterns that you have been fighting for may simply be patterns that you have learned in order to survive. You can let them go because you don't need to live your life in survival. You've discovered that awareness gives you a choice. Survival mode is a choice, and that's powerful. What do you do once you become aware of this stuff? What do you do once you start to understand this stuff? Or maybe an even more important question is this: how do you stop letting it control you? What do you do? Because awareness is not the finish line. It's only the starting line. And next time, you and we're going to talk about what happens when you stop identifying with patterns and start reclaiming the authority you've been given by God to step into who you are. Because after all, from the very beginning, God gave us instructions. And the first, one of them was to have dominion. Not to be ruled by fear, not to be ruled by unhealthy patterns, not to be ruled by old identities, but to live from the authority that He placed within you. Have dominion. Because noticing the pattern is one thing. Breaking its influence is something else entirely. Please remember this because it's very important. You have always mattered. You have always been good enough. You are and have always been worthy, and it's never too late to transform your life on purpose.